Welcome into a special Saturday edition WWL here at the same facility, getting ready for the introduction of Derek Carr as the Saints quarterback. They just arrived inside the media room, everyone getting settled. Carr, head coach Dennis Allen, along with his family, Nolan Benson, as we get settled in and ready to introduce the newest quarterback of the Black and Gold.
We're good?
You're good.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, look, appreciate everybody being out here today. Obviously, it's an exciting time for us as an organization. I'm sure exciting for Derek and his family. Before we really kind of get going, I do want to make sure that, everybody knows that Derek's a much quicker decision maker on the field than he is off the field. Obviously, this took way too long in the process, but we're obviously happy that we have him. I was fortunate enough to be with the Raiders when we drafted him in the second round, and have always admired the type of person that he is, as well as the type of player that he is, and so. It's been outstanding just to watch him grow, both as an individual and as a player, and we're excited about having him as our quarterback. And so I'm going to turn it over to the new quarterback of the New Orleans Saints, Derek Carr.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. This really is a dream come true moment for me, and the warmth and the love that I felt, from the city of New Orleans, Mrs. Benson, Mickey, DA, the whole organization, the whole city has been unbelievable. And before I get into that, I just have to say thank you to the Raiders, to Oakland, Las Vegas. I mean, I wouldn't be me if I didn't say thank you to them. I had 9 great years there, a lot of great memories, a lot of hard times, a lot of fun times, a lot of kids since then in those days. and Mr. Davis and the Raider organization, thank you. If they see this, I have to say thank you to them, because I wouldn't be here without them, and wouldn't be here without you if you didn't pick me, in that spot. So with that said, Mrs. Benson, thank you so much. The warmth and the love that you've shown my wife and to my family and to me is really something that just took us over the edge. The love and the genuine heart that you have towards us and towards your whole team and towards your whole staff, and there's not one person in this building that wouldn't say the same thing, and that meant a lot to us in the decision making. And as soon as we met you, it was like we met family. It was like we already knew you, and the love that you showed us, and that meant so much to us. So thank you for welcoming us to your organization and to your city. To Mickey, I know Mickey and Tim had a lot of discussions. We had a lot of talks, and I tried to keep myself even keeled during the whole thing, even though my wife already knew that we were coming here. She could have saved me a lot of time if she just would have told me that. I was trying to find the perfect place for our family, and she could have helped us with that. But thank you, for everything, and DA, how I feel about this man. Hopefully, me sitting here tells you what I think about him, and the opportunity you gave me, my first opportunity. Every time we played y'all, since we weren't on the same team, I would always tell you thank you, because or in the press conference leading up to that game, I would say I was always thankful for DA because he gave me my chance. He trusted me with the keys to an organization, and to be that quarterback there for 9 years. Thank you, for that. And we're just getting started though,
Right.
and all that's in the past. But thank you for texting me and blowing up my phone to make sure I picked the right spot. And to the whole organization, and to the city of New Orleans, thank you for welcoming my wife and my children literally everywhere we've gone. When we first got here, we with all the great food, the first place we went was Chipotle because we didn't know anything. And we walked in there and we couldn't get out of there because of the love from everyone in that building. And, they were taking pictures and just welcoming us, to the city, telling us anything that we need, they're here for us, and you could already feel the Southern hospitality and the home feeling of it. And, with that said, my wife and I are super grateful, to be here with our children and, make New Orleans home. We chose New Orleans. We chose this city. We chose the people here. Thank Drew Brees for reaching out to me and answering a lot of my questions. I thank, Peyton Manning, Archie Manning for reaching out to me and answering questions and being there for me, in making this decision. And so, I'm really excited to get started, and all of this stuff is fun. But hopefully I can answer your questions as fast and as honorable as possible so we can get back to work.
We'll open it up for questions. Mike Triplett, you want to start off?
Yeah, thank you. What were the discussions you had with Drew? He reached out to you first, or you reached out to him first? And what was it that, did he sell you on the community first or organization first?
I sent Drew a text, and obviously I won't get into his business on what he said. And I sent him a text, and, it was early in the process. I think it was right after my visit here. And I sent him a text, and he actually ended up, we were in Mexico at the time, getting our vacation on. And it wasn't too much of a vacation for me because my mind was spinning. But he called me, and I had a free afternoon. He called me, and I just asked questions, asked questions about the organization, asked questions about, Mickey, Pete, the city, everything, the community, all that. And a lot of what he said, he answered a lot of questions for me. A lot of what he said is probably why I'm sitting here today. When someone you respect so much that you've competed against, and he's I'm not coming here trying to be Drew Brees. That man is a Hall of Fame quarterback. I'm coming here to be Derek Carr. And I have so much respect for him though as a player. I have so much respect for him more as a person and as a dad. I've watched him at the Pro Bowl, sitting there with his kids, and the way that his kids admire him and talk about him, and you can tell he's a genuine person. And so a lot of what he had to say was going to carry weight with me. And so I won't get into all the details because some of that was private to him and to me, but a lot of what he said is probably why I'm sitting here today.
Derek, how attractive it was to come to the Saints, considering you never played with a top 20 defense, and considering where the defense is at now, as far as it being from the team aspect, that the defense has been top-notch, and that that's something you've never been fortunate to be able to play with.
Yeah, one thing for me when making this decision, all you can do is, look at past resumes, but once you sign with the team, none of the stats or anything in the past matter. Right now we don't have any rankings and we don't have any wins, and so the most important thing to me was the character of the men in the room, not really the ranking and that kind of thing, but the character. And when I talk to the defensive guys here, and I've known a lot of them for a lot of years, but they're grown men. They know how to handle success, they know how to handle hard times, and they compete at everything that they do. And this past year, when I would say us, but y'all beat our faces in, here at the Superdome, you could feel the physicality that they played with. You could feel the energy, the brotherhood. You could feel those things, and I was so pissed after the game. Excuse my language, but I was like, wow, what an opportunity it is to make that one of my choices now, and so again, the rankings and stats, DA be the first one to tell you, none of that stuff matters. Anything I've done in the past, anything that they've done in the past doesn't matter. It's about what we're going to do. And the main thing to me was the character and the type of man, type of men that are in that locker room, and the type of men is what was so intriguing to me. They're grown men. Like I said, the physicality that they play with, the style of play that I know DA preaches because I've been in the rooms hearing him say it. That was something that fired me up.
Derek, your brother David mentioned that you and Michael Thomas go way back and have a history, and mentioned too that he was a part of sort of the courtship. Just how far back do you and MT go, and how was he a part of this process for you?
Yeah, I would say, really just in the recent has been the most we've talked. Obviously as players, we know each other and have a respect and all those kind of things, right? And you have a lot of those relationships throughout the year, but, me and Mike, we've, gotten close through this process and talking, and, the first time I talked to him on the phone, I don't think he wanted me to get off the phone, I really enjoyed talking to him, and I told Mickey, I was like, you talked to Mike Thomas, and you feel like you two could go out there and face the world. You know, I told my wife when I got off the phone, and she was like, "Why are you smiling?" I was like, "I love this guy." You know, he's so competitive. You know, and you know, I think just the energy that he brings. You know, it would be very exciting times to throw him the football for sure. So, you know, when he started recruiting and talking to me and all that, he wouldn't even like try and recruit me. He's just like, "Hey, when are we getting to work? We're wasting time." You know, time's ticking. You know, and I was like, "I feel the same way." But we'll get there. But you know, I think that our relationship has grown through this process, and I look forward to hopefully making that relationship grow even stronger.
Derek, it was the Derek Carr's introductory press conference on WWL Saints Radio.
That's, Derek alluded to the text messages. I know you all are pretty aggressive. Can you kind of give us a behind the curtain as to maybe how relentless you were, how many texts, how many calls, and kind of how this unfolded?
Yeah, well, it was, you know, we were just talking in the cafeteria just a few minutes ago, just about how that process went, and, you know, you want to, you know, make sure, because we were the first ones to reach out. We were the first ones to show interest, and obviously, you know, Derek was a guy that, you know, obviously I knew, but when our personnel people watched the tape, and then our coaches watched the tape, he was clearly our number one target in terms of what we wanted to do at the quarterback position, and so we wanted to be first out there and just make sure that he knew that, like, he was the number one option. And then as we went through the process and he came here and he visited, and, you know, as the days were going on, you want to be respectful and allow him the opportunity to gather all the information that he needs to make the right decision. And yet, you don't want to ever get too far from the forefront of his mind. But I'll be honest with you, I really felt like, and I think we all felt like, when we had a chance to sit down and visit with Derek, and he told us what was really important to him, and what was really important to him was going and winning and trying to win a championship. I felt all along that this was going to be the spot that was going to be the best fit.
DA has a rookie here, I think it's a big impression on him as a star. What made him a guy that you felt you could hand it to as a rookie?
Well, I think his maturity level, as he came in, you know, you guys will get a chance to know him as we go along. He's a very mature individual. He's highly intelligent. He's very competitive, and he can spin it. And so when you put all those things together, along with the tireless work ethic, you know, I just felt like the upside of the player was what we needed to do at that time.
You know, that's, you know, important to me was something that I was thinking about. You know, how do I add value? You know, be a blessing, not a burden. You know, I don't want to be a burden to anybody in this building. I just want to add value where I can add value. And I think just there's a lot of experience on this team. I have a lot of experience, different experience, but I have experience too. You know, dealt with a lot of different personalities. You know, I think from a football aspect, you know, playing the quarterback position, like I'm not, again, I'll never be someone in here saying I'm this or I'm that. Like I'm going to be me. I'm going to be very imperfect, but I can promise you perfect effort, you know, and you know, that's what I can do is the film study, the work ethic. The city of New Orleans is going to get, just like Las Vegas and just like Oakland, they're going to get literally everything that I have. And I've learned a lot from my time and then getting released. You know, it alerts you to some things like, you know, what else can I do? You know, that fire, you know, gets a little hotter on the inside. And, you know, I'm not going to get into too much detail on what I'm going to bring because I'm sure when I throw an incomplete pass, it may get brought up again. But, you know, to me, I just want to provide, you know, leadership, you know, someone that's going to love their teammates. I'm not coming in here to try and take anything over. Like, I'm not taking anything over. I'm going to be me, you know. I'm going to call out what I want to call out, and I'm going to encourage what I think should be encouraged. But I'm here to do this with Cam, with DeMario, with Tyron, with Taysom, with Alvin, you know, with Mike. You know, if we want to go far, we got to go together. And it's not just because Derek shows up, you know, that we're going to do anything special. It's because we all decided as a collective unit to go in one direction and do it the same way. And that starts in OTAs. That starts in April, getting everybody here and getting to work if we really want to do what we want to do.
Derek, we had heard that Pete Carmichael Jr. and the principles of this offense were selling points for you. Can you talk about why you see this offense as a good fit for you and vice versa?
Yeah, I think just the background of the offense, where it's come from, the terminology. It's right. It gets back to what I thought were my most productive and successful years in that aspect. Similar concepts, different ways of getting to certain things, and and all that kind of stuff. And so, as soon as they started talking football, and particularly on how Drew wanted to play and how that season went, or seasons went when Drew was here, and how that style and that kind of stuff, that was intriguing to me, that they can do so many different things. No matter who is quarterback, they fit. Like when Taysom plays, they fit what Taysom can do. When Andy plays, they fit what Andy can do. When Jameis plays, and all those guys are super talented, but they all do things differently, better than others, right? And that's how we all are as humans, especially as quarterbacks. We all have our strengths, and so I think the intriguing thing to me was, like, whoever was playing quarterback, that Pete and the staff was always putting them in the best situation possible for them as a player, because I'm not. If we're going to go zone read, 30 times a game, I'm probably not your guy, But there are some things that I can do really well that the Lord has blessed me with that I think that, Pete and the offensive staff do a really good job of whatever that is for each individual player. They pull that out of them.
Derek, speaking of the Lord and the Christian faith, I thought you being a family man, and what happens off the field? You're going from Las Vegas to New Orleans. What can happen off the field? So you can't get any individual more stable than a Derek Carr, considering his Christian faith and what he's going to bring to the table, and also your involvement in the community.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit up here and throw Bibles at everybody, but I do have faith, and I do believe, and that's how we raise our children, and that's what the basis of our marriage is on. I love my wife because of the way that I'm loved, and how I learned that love. And so, same thing in the community, is that's how I love people. When I was these guys' age, my mom used to get really mad at me because I'd go talk to all the strangers, and say, you can't just go walk off with strangers, in the mall. But ever since I was little, I just love people. And so, my involvement in the community, you may not hear a lot about some of the stuff. You're going to hear enough about some of the stuff I do, but we like to make sure that the impact that we're making isn't for everyone to see. Sometimes that's good, and there's a place for it, and all those kind of things, and we will do that. But for us, there's a lot of stuff that we do that, it's that one person that you run into at Target that may need a little help, or there's that one person at the gas station. There's that one, and we just try and always be open to that and what the Lord is saying to us on how to help that community and just love the people of New Orleans. And so, for us, that my faith is number one. That'll never change. No matter what, good or bad. And then my family, and then football. And I love all three a lot, so I'll make sure I give them my best.
The 2-minute offense here has been pretty efficient over the years, and that's an area where you kind of excel getting in the drives and all that. What is it about those situations where you can kind of take control and direct things that I think suits your game so well?
Well, at first, we have to run efficient plays. We have like records and stuff that we did in the past, like I said, but it's not because I was just, some Superman or something like that. It's because we all were on the same page, and we all put a lot of work in to make sure everyone did their job at the right time. And we were in those situations so often, coming back to try and win games or things like that, that we got comfortable in those positions. And so when you practice something a lot, you get better at them. And so I haven't won every 2-minute drive I've been on, but we've won a lot of them, and so have they here. They haven't won them all. And in fact, I remember one where we gave Drew a little too much time, and you guys almost beat us here in the Superdome back in 2016. But thankfully it was a long.
There's still a bad PI call, just so you know. It was awful.
Thankfully it was a long field goal. But it's like it starts in April, and it starts in training camp. Us putting the work in, being put in uncomfortable situations by the coaches. Like, practice is going to be hard. Especially against these guys on defense. Like, it should be so hard, so that when the game happens, you're used to going against that hard of a look, that tough of a situation, and everyone's, heart rates are a little bit lower, while the Superdome may be loud and hopefully on offense they're a little quieter than, some of the Raider games were on offense. But, for us, it's just going to come down to execution and playing good football, nothing special, just everyone literally just do your job and then we'll go see what happens at the end of it.
It just seems like you've got some of the personnel there, Chris Olave, Alvin, just when you were watching the Saints, like, what are some of the things you like about those guys?
Explosive, they're very explosive, very, very competitive. I'm really excited to, have all those guys run down the field and just check one down to Alvin just to see what he can do. That'll be fun. I'm excited to watch, Taysom run the football, and have the ball in his hands. I'm excited to watch those guys run down the field, with their speed and athleticism, and and Jawan, the athleticism that he has as a tight end and the way he can move, and there's just so much potential, but that doesn't mean anything, So you make a decision based on what you think it can be, but then you got to go make it that. And so, when you watch them on film, though, it's hard not to get excited. It's hard not to be, for Saints fans, it's hard not to be excited about, the roster and, what Mickey and DA have put together here. It's exciting.
How important was the fact that the first team reached out? How important was that?
Very important. It showed me, how they felt about me from the beginning. And they were very honest and clear. You heard DA what he said, and that's exactly what he told me on the phone. And, so the fact that they were willing to even trade for me, that meant something. That shows you're showing me value without showing me value, right? You're valuing me as a quarterback and me as a human, without even having to say anything. And that meant something. It meant not just something, it meant a lot. And so, obviously our relationship goes, way back, and things like that. But, this time around, when they were the first one out there. And, I remember Tim called me, and told me, and, we set up the visit and, all those things. That meant a lot. And then when you get in this building and you meet everybody and you talk football and you go to dinner and then you meet Miss Benson, it's like, how do you not come here? It's like you're looking for every good thing about everywhere else, and there's a lot of good things about other places, but it's hard to find, a place that has almost everything.
Derek, what would you attest your availability? To be held accountable, you gotta be available. To me, that's one of the most remarkable things. I mean, I don't know, how many games have you missed? 3? 2, 3?
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Two this year.
Is it like, is it long for preparation, or, because you gotta be available, and that's one thing you've been.
Well, first, it's the Lord, because it's violent out there. It's freak things can happen. I mean, I got a plate and some screws in my ankle to prove that. You gotta, it's gotta be just the Lord has to have His hand, around that situation. And sometimes there's things that you got to walk through, and we've walked through those things with injuries. But I also work really hard at taking care of my body. My wife knows, like, when it's football season, I get home from work, I give her a kiss, play with the kids for a little bit, and I'm downstairs, and my man is downstairs with me, working on me and making sure that I'm fine-tuned for practice. Like, my big thing was, I'm not just trying to get ready for Sundays, I'm trying to get ready for Wednesday. I want to make sure I feel great, so my practices are at the highest level they can be, not just feel good by Sunday. I feel like if I can continue to do that, and that's why I feel like in my career right now, I told my wife, I was like, I may be 31, but I feel like I'm 21. I feel great. And thankfully we got good genes too. My dad was still dunking basketballs when he was 50, so I don't plan on playing that long. But but no, it feels good to be able to have a team of people around you and a wife that understands what it takes to be available. And hopefully our track record for the last 9 years shows that I spend a lot of time taking care of my body and doing anything I can to make sure I'm available for my teammates. The biggest heartbreak that I'll ever have is if I let my teammates down. And not being available to help them win a football game would feel that way for me.
It doesn't often happen in a quarterback, but your track record is free agency. So I'm just curious, what was that experience like, having spent almost a decade in the NFL, going through that in person?
Man, me and Tim, my agent, we could definitely write a book. Yeah, that's for sure. It was very interesting. But at some point, me and Mickey talked about this. At some point, it gets to like, you got so many details. You're picking this, and you're fine. Literally every detail you're picking apart. And finally, at some point, you're just like, I can't wait for it to be done. You know, I just can't wait I just want to find a place to call home, you know, and doing that while we were trying to be respectful of other teams that maybe had a later start and these kind of things, because I wanted to make sure that when I dreamed of this moment, there's no doubt or any question in my mind. You know, like when I sat here, like I know that I can give this Shield everything that I possibly have and not be like, oh, what would that have been like? Or what could that have been? We got every answer. Tim doesn't get enough credit. Obviously, agents don't get enough credit sometimes, but Tim gave every question I had, he gave me every answer. You know, and I had a lot of questions, sometimes too late at night, you know, but he was very vital to helping me get to the point to where I could sit here, and D even said it, you need to go through the process, you know, even Coach Sala in New York, you need to go through the process, and I appreciated that, you know, because they're like, you're going to get all the questions so that when you get to sit down and make the decision, you know, like I'm a Saint, like that's it, you know, I don't have anything in my heart anywhere else, you know, I'll always have love where I was. But, you know, I'm here now.
Derek, can you explain your thought process when you decided not to waive the no trade clause? And do you kind of always feel like you're going to end up a free agent and being able to go to the next process?
Honestly, no. I was very willing to accept a trade, but I was only able to talk to one team. You know, I was only given permission to talk to one team. And so as much as I love and respect the guys, you know, Dave and, you know, Josh over in, you know, the Raiders, like, I was like, it's not, how do I make that decision when it's the only time in my career that could possibly be free? I can't possibly make that decision, you know, without being able to talk to other people. But I still almost made the decision, you know, like I felt so much love here, like I still almost did it. But at the end of the day, I just felt like I knew that when I sat here, I wanted to be able to, you know, look my kids in the eye and look my wife in the eye and know that I did everything in my power. I asked every question. I went through every process to make sure I tried to make the best decision for our family, us together. And so I wasn't closed off to it at all, you know, which was, you know, maybe shocking to some people, you know, but I wasn't closed off. Like, I was willing to work, but I just was only able to talk to the Saints. But it worked out.
You know, Derek, how much of a mentor has your brother, David Carvin, do you, considering 2002 first overall pick with the Texans? Has he brought any stability in as far as advice? It seems like he's your number one fan.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Oh, my brothers, yeah. So I feel bad for some of y'all if y'all tweet something bad. It's not coming from me. All right, yeah. But they're brothers and they're going to protect their own. So you guys got to get used to that. But you know, I love my brothers to death. You know, both of them. You know, and they're my heroes. You know, I was so much younger. I was 9 years younger than Darren. I was 11 years younger than David. And I mean, as a kid, like those are my heroes. You know, I wanted to play high school football like them. I wanted to go to the same college as my brother. You know, I wanted to play in the NFL like my brother. I wanted to be like them. You know, like my dad. My dad was there to show me the work ethic, and David was there to show me the path. You know, that it works. And you know, and Darren too, with what he's been able to accomplish in his life. And so, you know, for me, David has been there to answer every question. You know, he was a free agent too. You know, I asked him questions, and you know, he's played a lot of the coaches that are still around. He's played with some of the coaches that are still around and all those things. And so, you know, for me, you know, he's my biggest fan, you know, and both of them are. They're my biggest fans, but they're my brothers. At the end of the day, we're family. And, you know, just like I try and teach these boys, you know, when everyone else doesn't have your back, y'all are going to have each other's back, you know, and when, you know, maybe someone didn't have my back, they're going to have my back. And that's what family does. Like, forget anybody else who doesn't like that. You know, I'd rather my brothers have my back no matter what, you know, and that's hopefully what, you know, what they're building here with our team, is that we have a brotherhood here that no matter what we go through, no matter what the game situation provides us, we know that we're going to be all right.
I know I asked about, you referenced Drew and Archie. Obviously, you played against Peyton and Eli. Was Archie a cold call? Did you know him at all or have a relationship with him? And maybe just kind of a moment of levity, did he give you any restaurant recommendations? Because I think the Who Dat Nation heard Chipotle and probably cringed.
100%. And that's why we were laughing, like, what are we doing? Yeah, Archie, so Peyton texted me. We obviously played Peyton for years, you know, when he was in Denver and all that. And then the Pro Bowl this past, you know, he was my head coach for the Pro Bowl, which was awesome. And then he texted me Archie's number and Cooper, his brother. and I'll end up reaching out to Cooper too. Obviously, they know this area way better than I do. And then before I could even text Archie, I got a text from Archie and saying he can't wait to connect and help in any way that he can once everything slows down. And so, I mean, that's kind of my hope, that what I could be for some future Saints quarterback or some future Raiders quarterback is someone that will just be there to help. I'm definitely not going to be the past quarterback that bashes the new one. I can promise you that.
For Coach Allen, why was it so important to bring in a veteran quarterback like Derek in contrast to going after maybe a younger guy?
Well, I don't think it's just a veteran quarterback. I think it's the veteran quarterback that we wanted, and so I don't know that, there was this thing that, well, we got to go out and find any veteran quarterback. We wanted to find, the quarterback that we wanted. And like I said before, we clearly identified Derek as our number one target, and we went and got him. I think the interesting thing is, like we really didn't try to sell Derek per se. We just told him the truth. We told him the truth about what we thought about him. We told him the truth about how our organization operates. And really, quite honestly, if that was good enough for him, then, we felt like we'd get him. And if it wasn't, then, we were going to wish him luck and find another avenue to go down. So I think that's the cool thing about our organization, is I think our organization sold itself.
Dennis, I know you got areas you want to address in the offseason, but getting someone like Derek, who is veteran leadership, how much at all does it impact free agency and draft, the way, how you look at things?
Well, a couple things. Number one, I think anytime you're able to acquire a player like Derek that's had success in our league and played at a high level, I think that's a intriguing aspect for other free agents that want to come and be a part of playing with a quarterback like that. I mean, that's obviously something that's in play here. Look, the quarterback position's the most important position on the field, and so for us to be able to get that position solidified and feel good about where we're at there, now it gives us an opportunity to really start to focus in on how we're going to, try to fill some of the other holes.
Derek, what's your biggest emphasis on improvement from last season? I know in 10 years into your career, you're probably still figuring out that you haven't reached your peak yet.
Yeah, I think, there's so many different reasons why certain things happen and all that. But for me, it just comes down to getting back to how I believe, I should play. And, let's complete a lot of passes. Let's throw it to our team, and let's put ourselves in a position to win at the end of football games, And so I think, there's a lot of reasons why certain things happen and all that kind of stuff. But I think I can do those things better. And so I'm not focused on really the exterior things. I'm more focused on, me and what I can do to be the best version of myself, which I know I still have a lot of years left to do that, and to really get better at it. So.
Derek, you're talking about finishing games. I mean, no one has had more fourth quarter comebacks than yourself. You got to take pride in that. Closing out games in the fourth quarter, that's the difference whether you win or lose.
Yep.
And since you've been in the league, no one has done it better than you.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, as a kid, my favorite player is Kobe Bryant, and I always tell my kids I used to, they do it now. I would run around in the front yard on our little basketball hoop on our slanted driveway, counting down 3, 2, 1, and missing a lot of them before I started making them, and I started doing that, and it was because the first one I ever saw was Michael Jordan, 97 against the Jazz, hit the crossover, I think it was 97, 98, and hit the shot at the top of the key, and I was like, it just did something to me. I was like this kid's age, and I just remember watching that like, I want to do that, like it was something in me that, I hope to have one of. And when I was in college, I was like, man, I hope to have one of those in the NFL, like one moment. And now that we've had so many moments like that, it's been really cool because I remember being their age, like dreaming of that moment, and now being able to do them at this level is, stuff that I'll remember, for the rest of my life. It's really cool.
Have you all talked, not to over-romanticize it, about finishing what maybe you tried to start 10 years ago? I mean, is that a conversation that even came up about crazy coincidences and how the football world works?
Yeah. I mean, That's the easy answer, right? I mean, we were just saying that. As a matter of fact, when I think that's kind of how we got off the phone when Derek called me Sunday evening and said, you know, we wanted to come here and be the quarterback, and, you know, we needed to, you know, we both felt like we did our job. Now it was time for Tim and Mickey and Kai to, you know, get it nailed down. But yeah, that was one of the things, like when we got off the phone, it was like, hey, look, it's time for us to go finish what we started. So I think it's kind of a cool deal.
Yeah.
Dennis said earlier he wanted to make it clear to you that you were the number one option. Did that come across? Did you feel that when you were going through this? Just knowing that they were really heavily involved in you specifically?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, there was never a doubt from me or from Tim, you know, or from, you know, Coach Allen to Mickey. Like, they made it very clear, you know, how they felt. They made it very. They were honest. They told us the truth about the organization, and they didn't try and make anything seem like it wasn't. And I think that's what meant the most to me. It was just honesty from the beginning, you know. And there were other teams that said certain things and said similar things and all that. But at the end of the day, they came out first. They tried to trade for me, you know, all these kind of things. And when you start weighing that, it's like, you know, you know, to feel wanted like that, you know, again, is nice. You know, for someone to see the value that you can possibly bring to their organization and to their city and to their locker room, you know, that means something.
Now, Derek, would you say that the fan base here in New Orleans is very similar to the Raiders, blue collar, you're the black hole, the Who Dat Nation, that is common to you, that you can relate to and want to have success for them? Not only playing for yourself or your family, but playing for a community.
Yeah, I mean, we got picked up, you know, from the hotel today, and we're driving right past the Superdome, and you're driving past all the little shops, and you're driving down Airline, and you're looking, and I had the thought, like, man, it would be so awesome to win for the city. It'd be so awesome to win for these people.
You
You
need
know?
a grand marshal or a Mardi Gras parade.
And I got a lot to learn about all the culture, man. Everybody's saying words to me. I'm like, what does that mean? You know, so I'm from Oakland and Las Vegas, you know, but we're learning. But I am, you know, it almost feels like that college feel again, like the whole city, like they're in it with you, you know. And again, the city has been unbelievable to my family so far. Like, my wife and I were talking about last night, we've literally been just blown away, you know, and hopefully we can, you know, win for them and make more fun times. I can't promise wins, but I can promise you a great effort, and I can promise you that. And so I'm excited to go out there and compete as hard as I can with my teammates and hopefully give them what they want to see.
Derek, you mentioned wanting to get to know some of these guys, talking to Mike now. Will you try to set up like a throwing camp sometime this summer, just get with the guys, get some chemistry going?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, especially in the summer, you know, right now, everything happens so quick, and we're going to be here in just a few weeks anyway. And so, you know, if anyone is close by and all that, then we'll have them out now. But I always, every year, with my whiteouts, and it's not like I'm not doing it for any kind of Instagram kind of thing or anything like that. Like, I really believe in that work, you know, that any work you can do with your receivers and any work you can do, as much as you can do together, you know, that's what's going to matter on, you know, 3rd and 8, you know, at the end of the season, you know, that's what's going to matter, you know, in the first game of the season when, you know, we're in the red zone. You know, it's those reps together, you know, not doing it with somebody else. But that stuff will be important during the summer, for sure. And, you know, hopefully get those guys out to wherever we're going, and we'll figure out a spot and get to work. But, yeah, that'll definitely be something part of the plan.
Were those defensive players in the game last season, were they talking to you?
No, not to me. I mean, I know Cam and DeMario. I've known them for a while. Tyron I've played against. Obviously, when he was in Kansas City, he's picked off a few of my passes over the years. Hopefully, no more. Hopefully, no more in practice. You know, but you know, they were definitely talking, and we didn't really have much to talk about in that game. I think you guys got the payback on us for that one.
Derek, what was the day you made the decision, Mike? And was there something that made you wake up that morning and feel confident that it was right?
Well, I think I was on the phone with Tim, and we were going through certain scenarios and even a couple crazy scenarios that were actually possible out there, and, you know, things like that. And as I broke down the final, you handful of teams that, was really serious, and we had chosen between. I think there was something that, obviously, with respect to the one team, that was sad, that I just finally told Tim. I was like, man, whatever, I'm a Saint. Let's do it. And he said, there you go. I remember, I'll never forget, he said, there you go. Like, I knew who he was rooting for. It almost seemed like, but I think that we both just fell in love with the whole thing. We really gave everyone a fair chance, which was awesome. And we really opened our hearts and our minds up to everything. But I just kept getting pulled in this direction until finally I was just like, I'm ready. And then as soon as I got off the phone, I said, I remember saying, well, let me talk to Heather first, because I had to make sure that she was the first one to know, So I remember telling Heather, and she was so happy, and the first thing she says, I love Mrs. Benson. She was so relieved, so it was good.
You've been with one team for your entire career until now. What's it like knowing that you're going to essentially start over with these relationships?
You know what, it's one, it's hard because I love so many people there. And at the same time, it's a breath of fresh air because I get to reinvent myself. I get to, the work ethic and all those kind of things. And Deacon, sit up, bud. I don't want to steal in your stuff. You're good, buddy. I think for me, I just get to come in and show my work ethic and really prove it again. I'd be lying to you, say I didn't have a chip on my shoulder with how everything finished. I didn't plan on or dream of it finishing that way, that's for sure. And, when I was told of, why, and I understood the business side of why certain things were happening, all that, I get it. But, for me as a competitor, I wanted to finish with my teammates and all that kind of stuff. It lit a fire in me that I've always had, but it just made it hotter, and it gave me this excitement to where, okay, I can't wait to get into another building and show everybody, just what I'm capable of and just what I can do. And so it's a little bittersweet because of all the people that I love there, that I have a relationship with there, but also very exciting to, kind of come try and prove yourself again here.
To kind of follow up on that, what's the key to building relationships in the locker room from your perspective?
You just gotta be available to them, to your teammates. Hopefully they know I've reached out to as many as I can so far, and I have more to reach out to. So if I haven't reached out to you yet, I will. I promise. I'm trying my best. With everything going on, it's been crazy. But I just make myself to let them know, no matter when or what you need, I'm here for you. I keep telling. I said I'll prove it to you on the field. But hopefully I can prove it to you off the field as well, that it will be there no matter what. At 3 a.m., just call me, please. And I remember I've told so many teammates that, and I guess it means so much to me because I've dealt with some hurt and past experiences where there were some late night things that happened, losses of lives and things like that, where I was like, man, I really wish I just could have been there for that teammate, and it just makes me even more hungry to be there for my teammates, more as brothers than anything else. And then hopefully by building that relationship and genuinely actually caring about what the questions you're asking, rather than just checking a box. I think by doing that, you build a greater chemistry and a bond that when you get on the field and, throw a pick, hopefully I don't, but if I throw one in defense, don't worry about it, we'll get you the ball back, man. If they give up a touchdown, I tell them, hey, don't worry about it, we'll get you the lead back, don't worry about it. There's no spite, anything like that. And you try and build that kind of chemistry in that team atmosphere, but it starts now.
Derek, you had, and I know it's early, so maybe not, but early impressions of Ronald Curry or any concept of Ronald Curry this far?
I have, yeah, a lot. Yeah, he's been great. So bright, so smart, The one thing, they're just everyone's so even keel, It's like, so I was waiting for someone. So when are they going to yell at me, DA? It's like,
that's coming.
Someone's going to yell at me sometime, But everyone's just like so even keel. They're just, the one thing you feel in this building is from the top down, everyone is pushing in the same direction. No one's stepping on anybody's toes. Every idea is a good idea, unless it doesn't work. It's not about who's right, it's about what's right. And that's one thing I've learned watching our offensive staff, work and be together is, who cares whose idea it was? It's our idea. We are going to get the credit. We are going to win the game because of A, B, and C. And I just feel that so much with RC and with Pete and with everybody. It's just like, let's just do what's right, and this is how we do things. What are you in, a lot of questions. What were you good at? And they're pulling up my, cut-ups, and they have every pass I've ever thrown. I was like, oh, I forgot about that one, But, it's been really cool to work with RC and talk to him. It's been, for me, I'd say it's been really cool just the way he's carried himself too throughout the whole thing. Like, he would reach out and he's like, look, dude, he'd play it. He's like, I'm not going to bug you, dude. Like, just know I want you to be here. And that's how I would be. Like, dude, I want you to be here. If you want to be here, awesome, but I'm not going to bug you, and that's how everyone's been. Like, we want you here. They've made it very clear, but they let me go through the process, and he was definitely that way too.
Yeah, you kind of alluded to that as well, the idea that the organization can sell itself success with this pursuit, success with other pursuits like Jarvis Landry and Tyrann Mathieu last year. Has that sort of been the universal approach, without giving away the trade secrets, of course, and how successful has that been?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, it's easy to sell the truth, you know what I mean? And so I think what we've been able to accomplish here, at least since I came back, I think all that kind of sells itself because it's the truth. And we've been one of the most successful organizations in the National Football League over the last 7 or 8 years. And so we're going to continue to be that. And I think this is a step in the right direction to getting back to, where we feel like we should be.
You have time for one more question, if anybody has one. Going once?
DA, what do you feel is next for this team? Obviously, free agency is coming up. What are some of the spaces that you might be looking to address and continue to build around you?
Well, look, I think first and foremost, we're trying to see what we can do within our own building, in terms of trying to get some of our guys back, and that would be option A. We'll see what's out there in terms of the market. I don't see us, going out in the first day or two of free agency and having some big splash acquisition. I think we'll do what we've always done here is we'll kind of monitor the market and see what players fit what we want to do and how we want to do things. And if there's a good fit there, we'll pull the trigger on it. And if not, we'll go through the draft process and let that play out. So, but yet this was, in our mind, this was a big domino to fall, and everything else I think kind of falls into place after that.
Coach Allen, what about the re-signing of J.T. Gray? It seems like you always want to keep great players, good players. He's amongst the best on special teams, not only a Pro Bowl, but all pro level. I think that was significant going forward, considering his contribution, not only on special teams, but on defense as a whole.
Yeah, look, I mean, JT's obviously been an outstanding special teams player for us. And really over the last couple of years, he's been a reliable participant on defense for us. And so our ability to get him back, I think, was big. And certainly, look, he was a special teams captain for us. And so he's a big part of what we're able to do specifically from a team's aspect.
Thank you all.
Awesome.
Bobby,
All right.
you don't understand the concept of last question.